So I want to thank everyone for taking the time to join us for our webinar today. We are going to give you some great information. We're also going to make this a fun experience for you. So with me, I am humbled and honored to have Mike Risserge, the CEO and founder of the Treasury Recruitment Company here with me. Mike, welcome to the webinar. It's a pleasure as always, my friend.
Well, thank you, sir. And you can see that Ernie's completely branded up. I mean,
that's right.
I thought we were going to do virtual backgrounds, but no, you see, I'm just green screened. He's like got his Treasury Webinars. He's actually exactly. Look at that. I mean, I couldn't do that.
So, yeah.
I'm the face of the business, so look at that. So,
over to you, sir. All right, cool. So just a few little things for those of you that aren't really familiar with Mike and I yet. I don't know why I wouldn't be. We're pretty good at marketing, so at least I think so. At Treasury Webinars, what we're trying to do is empower career success of the office of the CFO via virtual events, and also I'm honored to work with Mike this year. I want to spend more time on professional development, so I think that's a piece that we really don't get in the Treasury space at all. I think everyone knows. I think I put the fun in the Treasury and finance, and I was a practitioner. I worked at AFP, and this topic here is near and dear to my heart on many levels. But I used to manage AFP's Career Center back in the day, so that's why this is near and dear to my heart. Now, Mike, I'll let you give a little about Mike, so I don't make fun of you. So go ahead, my friend.
No, that's all right. So I run the Treasury Recruitment Company. We recruit all of the people hopefully watching today who are in the Treasury profession, from Treasury analyst to global treasurer on a global scale. So obviously we're post-pandemic. The world has been weird when people are asking me, what's it like out there? Well, look out the window. It's in lockdown. We can't even go to the pub yet. But when we can, it's going to get a lot better. And, each week I talk to treasurers and we'll do a Treasury podcast. Absolutely love it. 45,000 downloads plus, just talking to treasurers about their lives and things like that. So tune into that. But as you say, Ernie and I were going to put up sessions like this, and we thought this was good. Ernie wanted, I was saying, should we do LinkedIn and things? And Ernie went, no, Mike, people are saying to me about presenting themselves and how do we find jobs and things like that, being more active. So, yeah, and Ernie was in charge. I was like, yes, sir, we'll do what he says for a change. It's great.
All right. Thanks, sir. A few housekeeping items. Those of you who are interested in receiving CTP credits for today's webinar, you'll have to answer all of our polling questions. We're going to have a few more than normal because we want to make this interactive. If you have any questions regarding CTP credits, please send an email to Ernie@treasurywebinars.com. Again, that's Ernie@treasurywebinars.com. Don't send me nasty CTP credit emails because you don't get it in 5 minutes. I cry. I'm very sensitive, so please be kind. And we appreciate everyone's consideration in taking a short survey at the end of the webinar today, because Mike, I do, and I know Mike does as well. We always want to improve the ROI we offer you for your valuable time. We really appreciate that. Here's our agenda. So we're going to kick off with interview preparation, and this is kind of the same, right, whether you're virtual or in person, but I'll take a stab at that. I am very organized, and so I hope you go through this process the way I do. And I think I'll give you some things that you probably haven't thought about before, and then I think I'll actually let Mike talk. Mike's like, I can't wait for that to start. That's kind of hard. So Mike will talk about, what do you need to do before the interview, during the interview, and after the interview. So I think this is incredibly important for me, where I missed. You have to be prepared, be over-prepared, be comfortable, be yourself. During the interview, you got to put your best foot forward. There's different things you need to think about, and you should practice. You should watch yourself on camera. You should watch yourself doing these things. And then after the interview, how do you keep that momentum going? I think that's incredibly important. Sometimes people don't know what to do. And then how to nail the offer deal. But also we need to know from Mike, when is it time for me to give up, right? I'm badgering these people, right? So how do I not make myself desperate? For me, the reason this is so important for me is, whenever I had a job interview and I thought I just completely nailed it and I would have bet maybe one of my dogs that I got the job, I didn't. But then the ones I didn't think I did real well, and I ended up getting the job. So you have to keep yourself level set and just kind of move forward and be positive. So what about interview preparation? Oh, everyone is so excited to have their first polling question here. This is a curiosity for me as well, and something I'm interested in. So I'm asking you to share, how many hours do you spend preparing for a virtual interview? And be honest, we're not going to tell. And also, if you're on here, we're not going to tell your employer that you're on here either. So is it less than an hour, 1 to 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours, 3 to 5 hours, or more than 5 hours? I know it depends on what the job is, but I'm just kind of get a sense, and I'd like to get Mike's thoughts on this. On what do you think? Seems to be the right fit. And it might be just for you. Where you stand depends on what you say, but I think this is going to be interesting for us to take a few minutes on. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the polling question up for another 5 or 10 seconds. So my CTP people don't get mad if they don't get the answer, and then they send me a nasty email. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to joke about it, but the CTP stuff. But I don't do this to offer CTP credits. I love it that you give me a chance to earn your viewership, and I know I do that every time. So I'm happy to give you your CTP credits. But, be a little patient with me. All right, let's go ahead and close that. Let's go ahead and take a quick peek at the results, Mike.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I'm actually pleased, that we've got, let's see, 50% of the people are 2 hours or more. That's fantastic. Those of you that are less than an hour, maybe you're the greatest virtual interviewer ever, or maybe you're very, very seasoned. I know, Mike, it depends a little bit. But
Ernie, they don't want the job. In the nicest way, if you're spending less than an hour preparing for a virtual interview, okay, maybe they're taking it that they're thinking about one specific role and they're only going to do a bit of research and they're going to bang this out. I get asked when I do presentations, say, do you rehearse? I was like, yeah. Like, well, how many times do you're really natural on stage, and Ernie, you're the same, and we get this. You and I have talked about this before. I rehearse that speech, when I do my Chicago speeches, 10, 15 times. Now, I'm not saying someone has to do that for a virtual interview, but to get really smooth at it, you have to do it again and again and again. So someone that's coming up to me saying, yeah, I just did an hour and, then I went straight in the virtual interview and I winged it a bit. You don't want the job. You obviously don't need the job. So why bother? And I'm not criticizing those 1 in 10. I'm just saying, maybe think about it a bit more deeply. And that's hopefully what you'll get some more tips out today. So over to you.
Yeah, right, Mike. And also, as Mike said, you want to prepare and be really prepared. And some people, it'll take you longer to prepare, right? So you want to be ready, right? So some people, it's not. You have to feel comfortable. You have to be prepared and you have to feel comfortable. So anything, the more you practice, hopefully that'll make you less nervous and more authentic. And so, you should spend at least a couple hours. In my mind, you should probably practice that. I think for me, I'm still not good at it because I'm so used to have my camera on. The hand gestures and things are important, and just your facial expressions, which my wife warns me is like, you have some weird facial expressions. So you do want to take a look at that too. I'm kind of funny looking. At least that's what Mike tells me all the time. So let's go ahead and talk about the in-person interview and both virtual. And so you really need to look at this. I look at this as like a research project. Think about how important it is for you to work at the right place. Right, you need to invest in this. And when the interview, this comes out to a good interviewer. Do you understand the company? Do you understand your future job? Right? What is it? What is it that they want me to do? And then when you research the company, you can also see things that you think might be issues there. Unfortunately, if you're getting a job, more often than not, there's a big problem, right? And you need to know what you're getting yourself into. You want to understand your future boss, and then we don't want to stalk people. But I'll show you how to do that. Understand your future teammates. You can do that. Understand your direct reports. Are you a manager? Are you the treasurer? Let's find out. And understand your potential interviewers. Let's go out there and see who you might be interviewing with. And then, importantly, you need to be able to communicate your value proposition to each potential interviewer. Is it someone that will work with you, above you? Is it the HR person? How do you focus on saying, I get your company, I get the culture, I get your value proposition? And so you have to have just a little bit of a different take, but Mike will talk about, how to do those things. Yeah, Mike.
Ernie, I just want to ask, for the people, again, that they're watching, listening and things, you're going to share these slides out. How are people going to get hold of the slides or the information after? Do they drop you an email or what?
Great, Mike. Yes, I forgot to mention, if you'd like a copy of the slides, please go ahead and send an email to me at Ernie@TreasuryWebinars.com, and then we will be using the recording, and so we'll go ahead and upload the complete webinar recording, and you might see this information through other channels. So we really want to get this content out across the world, and so anyone that wants to consume it, and also if anyone has any questions we didn't cover, we'll talk about that later. We'll be happy to take those. So thanks, Mike.
Lovely.
All right, so let's go ahead and dive in a little bit. See, I got too many screens open here. All right, so So let's dive into actually how to do it. Wouldn't you like to be on a webinar where they actually show you how to do something? That's like amazing, right? So I'm not telling you to do this for this company, but my background is a treasury manager. So I thought, okay, let me go on LinkedIn and see, what jobs open. And so there's Uline is treasury manager job in Chicago. One of the reasons I chose this was that I worked in manufacturing. So this would have been a job that I would have wanted to look for back in the day. And so you look at it, okay, how am I a fit? Okay, have I done this before? Budget, research, recommend actions, minimum requirements. And so I'll let Mike talk in just a minute. Mike, I'll ask you to weigh in here. So usually the position responsibilities, they just want the world. So it's not necessarily crucial that you have all those, but you need to speak to them. And the minimum requirements, again, it depends on the employer. For me, I look at the place, where's my weakest spot? And for me, it would be issue and amend letters of credit. So I'd make sure I go on Google and I bone up and I know the language, or if I haven't had foreign currency exposure language, right, I can probably get through that as well. And then if there's a requirement I don't meet and they dive in on that, then I'm going to say, oh, I don't have that, but I have this, Anything you want to add there, Mike?
I think you're exactly right. Well, I think, and on that is, and we'll come back to it later, is what questions they're going to ask you. You just said there, Ernie, you said, what if you've only got 6 years experience in managing treasury teams, but you managed them in a finance role before? So you've got 7+ years, not managing treasury ops teams, but maybe you've done a different role or everything else. And are they going to say, well, no, you haven't done 7 years in a day? No, of course they're not. If you're the right person, you might only have 3 years of managing treasury teams, but you've got other things. But they will ask you the question. Be prepared. We'll come back to the preparation, but back to you, because I love this section. So carry on.
Right, and then you want to understand the company. So there's different ways to do that. I started on LinkedIn, right? And then if you go through LinkedIn, but you go to the company webpage, right, and go to the About section, just browse all the sessions, right? Learn as much as you can. What makes Uline unique? That's their value proposition. That's really important. When I worked at Franklin Electric, we had the 5 key pillars of success: quality, I should know them, quality, availability, whatever they are. But if you know those and you can convey those, it's amazing. And then also look in the careers webpage, because you're going to be interviewing with different people, right? So the company webpage, let's look at the career webpage. Look, they have a finance section. I definitely want to go into the finance career section, and they'll give you great advice. So if someone can see, wow, you've done all this research, right, on the company, you're putting your A game forward. So let's make sure that we really leverage that website. And then I also found some spots. You want to see, this company looks great. If anyone from Uline's out there, I'd probably work for you. This is amazing, all the things they do. Get an understanding of their benefits, right? Not just the salary. Look at these great things they have. They have financial, they have health, they have paid time off. They tell you how they're going to train you. That's really cool. They have wellness programs. They do social items. And so, understand the company and see how they value their employees. Really important in today's world that companies are investing in your mental health as well as your physical health. Mike?
Ernie, you were prepping for this. You were looking at that job, and you were looking around their website. Right. Did it take you less than an hour, do you think? I don't think it did.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
No, but what I mean is, those guys that were wanting a job there, then they said on that line, 1 in 10 that said, only one less than an hour. Just doing this, if you want the role enough, you're gonna, it's not gonna take you that much. You can sit there, you can look at a couple of YouTube videos and stuff like that. We're not saying, do 2-3 hours every time with a job.
Right.
Because I'm busy, and of course you're busy, but it depends. If you walk in there, and exactly as you said in your previous role, if you knew the 5 pillars and you were going for that job with you, when you're at Franklin and things, how impressed are they going to be? They're going, "Whoa, I don't even know those, and I work here." It's like, so yeah. Back to you.
Oh, sorry, I have to say it because I'll yell at me if I didn't get it. Quality, availability, service, innovation, price. Our CEO used to walk around. This is a true story. He'd walk around every employee. He would go up to your desk and say, "What are the key factors of success?" And you better know what they are. And walking down the hallway. And so manufacturing companies just seem to have a better. For me, I worked in they really seem to value their employees, and so that's important. if you look at industries as well. Understanding your future job. So ask yourself these questions, and then as you get to know people or connect with your boss, ask them, right? Uline's cash management operations, what is that? What's their global footprint, right? How many countries are they in? How many currencies? Oversee weekly cash flow forecasts and reporting. See if you can get some sense on how they do it, right? How are they doing these things, right? How often do they use LCs and why, right? You may be able to, if they ask, say, oh, I see you use letters of credit, you might, know what you're talking about, but you might say, just kind of curious, I've used LCs. What else do you guys do to help, facilitate payments? Again, the exposures, treasury related systems and internal controls. Ask questions, and that way you can show your knowledge and say, oh, just one of these requirements was treasury related systems. Can you share with me what systems that you're currently using? Are there areas of internal controls you think might need some work? And then you can get your expertise there. And then the relationships, right? Maintaining relationships. What are your banks? What banks you use? I've used XYZ. They have some good technology, and so this is important. So if someone dials you here, right? And then the relationships. Again, for me, I used to do letters of credit, but I didn't know a lot. It has its own language, so you at least need to have a little bit, on the verbiage side of things. So let's go ahead and understanding your future boss. Now, you don't want to be a stalker too much, but on LinkedIn, they can't tell if you're a stalker, but it's cool. Identify who it is, right? LinkedIn, Sales Navigator. So what I did is I did a little search here. I have LinkedIn Sales Navigator. If you don't have it, please invest in it. It's like game changer time, right? For you. So understanding your boss, identify who it is, right? I have some search criteria. So it's treasury manager. Is there an assistant treasurer, director of treasury? Is it a treasurer, right? I put treasury. Go ahead, Mike.
I'm just going to say, you don't, just for some of the guys, hang on, why do I have to invest in Sales Navigator? Yeah, that is a good thing to have. It definitely helps you in your role. But these treasury professionals, guys, you can just find this on a LinkedIn free account.
Yeah.
And it just takes a few more clicks. That's one of the things with Ernie. He's just like, boom, show me all the connections there. But it's like, it doesn't take long. You click on the company, and then you go to the people section. You put in treasury, hit return. That was typical, wasn't it? Treasury return. Oh, and it also shows you. And Ernie, one of the other things I noticed, you're talking about, why does this role exist? Has someone left from it? Where have they gone to? Have they been promoted? You could probably see that from the number of people in the department. So that's a good way of doing it. Sorry, back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you can also do a little bit, understand who they are. And so don't everyone go clicking on Margaret's LinkedIn profile, but I'm connected with her. Wow, isn't that a bonus? She might be my boss and I'm connected to her. So you can dive right in there, right? Look in their profile, click in their profile. I don't want to show all Margaret's stuff on there, but look in her profile. Go on Facebook. I mean, if she's out there, go ahead and look, see what you can build a connection with her. Maybe her kids are runners. Maybe she's a runner. Maybe she likes, and you can softball that in. Maybe she plays golf. Maybe he plays golf. Incredible. You can do a Google search and just see what's going on. And then you can also kind of get an understanding of how they manage, connect with the direct reports of your future boss and coworkers, right? Let's take a look at who we might be working with here. So for me, Jennifer, right? She's a treasury analyst. Okay, well, let's see if I can connect with Jennifer. And maybe Jennifer will share. Hey, I wonder if Jennifer, she might be going up for the position against me. You don't know, right? That might be an internal thing. So you want to be a little bit careful there. Understand your teammates. So I did this one a little bit more broadly. I think I found Jennifer, but then there's also cash application. Like Mike said, you can figure out the department. And I believe they also had a lot of accounts receivable folks. So it seems like they have a cash app issue. So you can glean intelligence like that. So again, try and understand your teammates, see if they'll connect with you. Hey, I'm just looking at opportunities out there. Looks like an interesting company. What do you like working there? I mean, go for it. I mean, let's understand your direct reports. So this can be interesting. So let's just say that you're lucky enough to get the job and you see Jennifer would probably report to you, right? Treasury analyst, okay. Let's see what's going on with Jennifer. Okay, what does she do? She volunteers. I can build an instant connection with her on day one. And when I walk in the office, right, I want to engage her. And one of the first things you want to do with your people that are reporting to you is alleviate the fear, right? When I had a couple of people, you walk in the door and you're like, let's just sit down with them as a human being, right? Make a connection with them. The first thing, the best thing you can do is build trust, and that starts right out of the gate. So I want you to know this is my philosophy. I'm very open. I'm very honest. If there's anything I can do for you, let me know. Are there things that I'm walking into here? You know, I want to help you. And basically, I say to people, your success is my success. It's our departmental success. So, you know, the more you share with me, the better. And then you can also see areas, right, where Jennifer might not be involved in that she wants to get involved in, right? Maybe Jennifer wants to get into training. Maybe that means she wants to talk at an AFP event, right? So there's incredible information in here, right? Any thoughts, Mike?
Just exactly what you said. You know, I'm not going to add much more to that. I think, you know, just by, you know, just gaining an idea from, you know, it might be Jennifer, it might be her boss, it might be, you know, look at people, what have you got in common? I think and that'll also be when you go for the interview, and whether that's virtual or real or whatever it might be, when we get back to that, I think just by having that commonality, people sometimes say on the resume, should you have interest on it? Yeah, of course, because it's a hook about what people want to talk to you about. And you just talked about volunteering there. That might be a big thing, or there might be something else. And then if you're pre-briefed, you can think that through. Now, you're not going to get into it maybe in depth in an interview, but you're going to have things in common. And that's what you want to do. You want to establish a relationship, and that's going to help you.
Yeah, I actually got my job at Franklin Electric just because I picked up on something in the CEO's office. So this position was so hard to fill. The HR guy spent 45 minutes preparing me to interview with this guy. So he was a tough nut to crack. And so Mike knows me. He's like, man, that's not a good situation. You have no. So I found office, there was a boat inside a bottle with all these intricate strings and everything in there. And I said, wow, that's really interesting. Where did you get that? And he's like, yeah, I got that. I kind of like to build. And then I'm like, oh, my dad used to build those. When my mom was pregnant with me, he built that ship. And then bam, I had them right there. And the HR guy told me, he goes, you had it right there. As soon as you did that, that was your connection. And that's what got you in the door.
It's about building connections, relationships.
Right. So we talked about this, potential interviewers. So let's broaden our search, whether it's LinkedIn or Navigator. You know, who are the people you might work with or work for? AP, AR, CFO, HR, controller, VP of finance. So just trying to see who you might be interviewing with. And if you're lucky, you might have a direct connection with them. Right. And so it's like intelligent. So
and also,
go ahead.
Well, Ernie, to add in there, you know, one of the things you notice, there are some of the people there. What you can also look at is if one of your friends or one of your connections is connected to one of those people.
Right.
If it is, you know, ask your friend and say, is it possible? I don't want to get in by the back door, you know, I don't want to do that. But if there's any advice, say, Vanessa could give me, you know, or is there anything, could you just reach out and say if there's anything? Sometimes they might say, yeah, actually, I can give you a call. I can tell you what we've been through. Oh, I've got to know that. Yeah, it's a great introduction. And you can do that via LinkedIn as well, but do it as a warm intro. There's nothing worse. And can you introduce? I get sometimes this, oh, Mike, you're connected to this person. I'm connected to 10,000 people.
Yeah.
I try to talk to them all the time, but you know, and you want to help people. But you know, sometimes, you know, I might have recruited for them 10 years ago. So, you know, it's a long lost connection sort of thing. But, you know, that's one of the things you can always ask.
Yeah, I guess kind of what I'm getting into here in the pre-prep stages, you want to look for every competitive advantage that you have. And so you're being willing to invest in this, right, is going to give you a competitive advantage. You have to be able to communicate your value to interviewers. Mike will talk about this. What's your value to the company, right, beyond your role? What's your value to the department, Treasury Finance? What's your value to having them, right? Having you makes them look good, right? I'm on the top of my field. I do this. Maybe it's they like communities. I'm active in the community. So this is a lot about the interview stage. I'm sorry I took so much time, but this to me is a critical part that I don't think, that's where I think people missed out. So let's go ahead and break it up with a polling question here, and hopefully this will give Mike some insights, right, on where to focus maybe a little bit more. asking you to share what your biggest challenge is. Is it the preparation stage? Is it the live interview itself? Is it what do I do immediately after the interview is over? Is it how do I maintain momentum? Or for me, I'm charmingly aggressive, right? Knowing when to give up after an interview, so knowing when to kind of call it a day and just kind of move on to that next opportunity, put that in the rearview mirror, and move on and learn what you can, and then realize, right, when it's time. When it's time, right? Don't get yourself caught up. I can't believe I didn't get this job. That's probably the hardest part in the job search for me. Is keeping your momentum, keeping yourself positive, right? That's really hard. You have to let yourself have some down moments, but you have to time yourself. Okay, I get a half hour to pout. Maybe you need a day off. I need a day off. I need to recharge. But if you have negativity or you're worn down, that comes across in an interview. You don't want to be excited like me too much, but that really makes a difference and people can really sense that. So get yourself excited about your virtual interview. I don't care if it's like this is not the really job I want. You better act like this job is really important to you when you are in that interview. And I think people don't do that as well. So let's go ahead and close. Let's take a quick peek. Mike?
Yeah, the live interview. That's not that much of a surprise, really, is it?
Right.
You know, people think, but people get worried about interviews. We're going to do the prep as well and stuff. Yeah, we'll go through each of these areas. How to keep momentum going as well. That's an interesting one, and knowing when to give up. There's 1 in 10 people just over that. Similar situation. Yeah. I think we'll give that. When we go through the advice.
All right. Cool. All right. What everyone's waiting for, Ernie to be quiet. Mike, go ahead.
There you go. That's a nice. Give everyone a rest, Ernie. Just like rest your jaw just for a minute. Everyone, I'm not going to talk to the slides, but the key thing is look at the picture. People have said to me before, one-to-one meeting versus an interview, they're pretty similar. No, they're not. They're totally different. You are, we have a thing in the UK with Judge Rinder, and he's judging you, he's looking at you and stuff like that. You have talent shows. Exactly. If you don't get through each of those auditions, you're out the room. I spoke to Forrest Siebold, really great guy, on my podcast recently. And what he said, one of the things he's done with his interviews, he said in the past, is that he wants to give them no reason to reject them from the process. Each time he's done the research, just like Ernie talked about there, he said that's the first thing you can do. And if you listen today, Forrest, good to hear from you. But the fact is, in a virtual interview, it's just like that. You have a bad one-to-one meeting with your colleagues. Sorry about that, guys. Was having an off day and stuff. Have an off day in a virtual interview, you're out the process. You're done. That's it. You're not getting that job. That's what it's about. It's more difficult for you guys with a virtual interview. You've got to reach out and grab their attention. I wrote an ebook a few years ago, and I was trying to get it across to people that I'm a massive fan, guilty seeker of Aha. That's right, the best band in the world. They're still going. We love them. Yeah, move on, Ernie. Don't do that to me. But joking aside, you reach out. Go back to that, Ernie. Go back a slide. Yeah, when that's it. So when you've got that bit from Aha and Take On Me, and the guy, he's reaching out and he's grabbing the girl. That's what you've got to do. You've got to reach out from your screens that are there, and you've got to get someone's attention. So you're sitting there, you're having a virtual interview, and you want to make sure they want you want to be judged, and you want to get through to the next round. So each time, think about what you're doing. So keep going, sir. Here we go, Ernie. That's lovely. Technology. Now, before this and everything else, we test the technology, and you've got the lovely backdrop here. That's why we put that up, because it's really rubbish behind there. So it looks all right. It's not the best. I love Ernie's background. I'm going to steal that, but I'm not going to work for webinars. But make sure you check it. Make sure we were online 15 minutes before. Everything was working, was worried about the sound. Make sure that works. If it doesn't, you've got time. Have a backup. Go in, I've got another PC. If we dropped out, I'd be off for 2 minutes. I'd be straight on an indoor PC. Make sure it's all working. Get yourself positioned. Look, how hard? Oh, great. That's right. Yeah, they're looking good, are you? No. How long does that take? For crying out loud. It's like, it's just like, get yourself ready. Right. Here's my phone. It's off. Boom. There you go. See, switched off. Like, switch it off. Get rid of the distractions. Say to the kids, lock them in the house. Just say, look, give daddy an hour, come back to, bring me a cup of tea later, but that's it. Again, you've got optimal lighting. I'm going to do this one. Here we go. Whoa, there you go. That's it. You don't want that. You like, guys, just like this. And I've seen so many. In fact, I'm going to switch these off for a minute. And just to show. Boom, like this. Do this. How bad does that look? Really? No, that's really difficult, isn't it? Oh my God. Like, guys, just switch on some lights. Look, I've got little lights here. I've got some backdrop lights. Let's get that back on. Sorry. Yeah, you're going to see my face again. Can't have everything. Look at Ernie's. Ernie's is better. And look at him. He's well lit. He's got nice branding and stuff like that. We're going to get some more branding here, but lovely GoToWebinars doesn't allow you. But again, ensure the right environment, limit the distractions. So we switched off those. Go. Monitor your body language. I made a note here. Mike, nose rub. Yes, it's not a code. This, I do this. It's like no, I don't have a habit. No, I've stopped that. I've never had that habit. No, shut up, Ernie. Joking aside, I have a habit. This. I have to sit with my hands sometimes when I do panelist things and not rub my nose. So when you're meeting someone online, make sure you're there, smartly presented, monitor your body language. You're watching. They're watching you. I'm looking in the camera. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing this. I'm not slouching. Is it really that hard? It's like, it's not, is it? So, communicate, sit up straight, look as much as possible if you can, rehearse this before, get yourself, do what think, and answer some questions. Talk about this. I've done this many times with Ernie and stuff, but do it before. It doesn't take you, that's just 3 or 4 or 5 stages. It's easy. And do you know what? It costs a lot, doesn't it? Oh, that's right. It's free. Right. Sorry, just winds me up. Anyway, next one. Dress the part. There you go. Yeah, look at that. You could wear a jacket like that, but he's won the bet. Don't worry. There's a lot of dollars in his bank account for that. It was great actually. With you look at Ernie. You're gonna next time you're gonna see him at a conference. You're gonna walk up to, oh, you're that webinars guy. You know who he is. So dress the part. For me, my industry, smart shirt. Boom. Sweater. I've got a casual top over there. I knew you guys are going to be watching. I took that off, put it in the corner. It's not happening. Right, next. Sit down prepared. Sell yourself. Look, these are a thing called notes. It's a notepad. As I'm going through, I'm writing questions. Review your career history, anticipate questions. Now I'm going to go into that one, just not too much detail, and give a practical example. 3rd round interview for one of my candidates. Great guy. I did a rehearsal with him. So we said, oh, could we do a rehearsal? Of course we could. Start to do this rehearsal. How can I put it? He was atrocious. He was the worst video interview I've ever seen in my life. And he's a great candidate. And I literally had to say to him, look, mate, this has got to change. And I said, look, and we went through some of his answers. And actually, when he got to the end of each of the answers, I said, look, Treasury team-wise, you did some really good stuff. You give me this long 2-minute answer. I was sitting there going, oh, we'll make this stop. At the end of it, he gave like 3 bullet points. They were amazing. He was demonstrating his value. So what I did, I got him, I haven't got any Post-its here, but to write on a Post-it, boom. And I said, right, the bit about teams, write the top 3 tips, boom. He put it on his monitor, just to the side, lovely, boom, and did it. And he had it all the way around. When after I got the feedback after that 3rd round interview, they said he was the best prepared candidate they'd ever had for a virtual interview. Yeah. And the reason was he prepared the questions. Ernie, you've been in that situation. What's it like for you? What do you think?
I mean, for me, if you don't have them, but if you do, I have right now, like I'm not in good shape now, I would have multiple monitors open and I have notes right in my purview, so I can just kind of dart my attention. You can get a lot of stuff that you can read on a document, and you have to be natural practice, but you could read. I know I have to say this, like those 5 key factors of success, whatever that is. Ooh, this guy loves golf. In bold and red, golf, golf, golf. Because you have all these grand ideas when you're ready, right? But when you get in the heat of the battle, maybe someone throws you a curve, and you're like, I need to say that. So it makes you feel comfortable.
You got to hear about selling yourself. I'm going to come back to that in a minute, so I know we don't want to take everybody's afternoon, but we've got some of the bits. Here we go. This is it. Perfect candidate. Strengths, weaknesses, motivations. Now, when you're leaving your current role, even if you are struggling with your boss and your relationship, we don't want to hear negative stuff. Yeah, be nice, play nicely, talk about your strengths and focus on the future, not necessarily all the past. There are so many times you say, I don't like him, I don't like her, this is wrong, blah, blah, blah. What are they going to say? Oh, yeah, they're a real strong team player. No, they're going to come in and, you can obviously talk about it. Say, I've struggled in my relationship. I've tried to do this to beef it up. It's not worked out. I am moving on. If that's your reason for moving on, obviously. Look at your strengths and, as you said earlier, look at your weaknesses. When you've got a practical job, there were weaknesses in it. And actually, so make that, I haven't managed this number of people, but I have managed this number of people. I have done it this way. Concerns as well.
Yeah, Mike, let me hop in here. Sorry, we got a question I think fits well here. And I've been in this position. Not surprising to anyone, I have been terminated several times. But how do you communicate that, right? How do you make that into not a negative thing if that would be your concern? I'm on the call. I've recently lost my job. They asked me why. How do you kind of tiptoe around that? I know it's a long question, but kind of fits, I think.
Number one, you answer the question.
Okay.
There are so many people that don't answer the question.
Yeah.
What I think, you might be bitter and twisted about it. I mean, I know everyone can see this on camera. You're a bitter and twisted man, Ernie. You're not.
Yeah, that's true.
No, it's not. You're not. You've taken it on the chin and you've learned from it. And you say, look, do you know what? It wasn't the right place for me. Reflect on the positives and don't ignore the negatives. But you can take that. And I had it with a candidate recently, and she just berated her previous employer. And do you know what? I'm meant to represent her, and I'm thinking, wow, I'm gonna have to coach her before every interview, not to absolutely, they did this. And I actually did give a coaching on that call. And I said, look, I think you need to, address that and get over it. Because the fact is, why you want to join the new employer, maybe some of the, and you can look at the weaknesses also being not a strength. I hate when they say that, but if there are parts of the new role that you're going to go to, you saw the role that you demonstrated earlier, that attract you, say, look, do you know what? These things were missing from my previous role. Say there wasn't enough team management, there wasn't progression, and actually share that with them, because that makes it into not a weakness, not just something progression as well. Growth.
Just let me, and I asked this in my mock interviews at Purdue, and people always get stumped. And I asked someone, why do you want to work here? And that's the exact answer to that, right? I would like to do this. How are you going to make yourself better? But if someone asks you, why do you want to work here, and you don't have an answer, you might as well beep your butt. That's my opinion. I mean, that's a tough one. They never put that in all the interview questions that I see, but I've been kind of stumped on that myself. So kind of interesting. We ready to move on, or we staying on that one? We ready to roll?
Keep going, because we want to keep these people awake. I've had a strong coffee, so they're all right. Keep them going. Right, first impressions. First 4 minutes. Whoa, yeah, they do form in the first 4 minutes, but they're actually there for the first 30 seconds. That's it. If we talked about body language. We talked about, all those different things. We talked about the lighting. It's like, if I'm stupid enough to do this and I'm not prepared enough, how, as a treasury professional, put my teeth in now, am I going to be judged? Be prepared, have questions. You're not going to ask them straight away, but they are going to talk through your resume, CV. They're going to do this. So that's their first impression. Actually, if this person's thrown a curveball, if it's a challenge, they're going to be able to deal with it. That's one of the things. There is that balance. Confidence, arrogance. I think that's an interesting one. You want to come over this, but you don't want to come over this, in your face, boom. Look at me, I know, great stuff. That's where it comes into, and I've written it here, and it occurs all the way through. What did you achieve in your role? That's one of the things, not what did you do? And that was one of the things you mentioned earlier, Ernie. And again, you talked about some of the things that you did in your previous role, but you were also focusing, naturally enough, because you're a great sales guy at this, but what you achieved. How did you improve things? Where did you take it from and to? You went into a company that didn't have a treasury management system. You did an RFP, boom, went through, implemented this system. Okay, you implemented the system, right? Yeah, that's it. No. How much money did you save? Did you save the time? Yeah, that we rolled it out globally. Oh, wow. So you saved, how much money did you save that company? Well, I saved my wage, I saved my salary, 10 times over in the first 6 months. Wow. That's what you achieved. I mean, you've got that as well, haven't you? You know, Ernie, I mean, how do you balance that confidence, arrogance thing? What would you say?
I would say I'm arrogant too much, but yeah, I think that it's kind of to me, certain people are more and less sensitive to confidence and arrogance. So like you said, I think it's better if you know you're a little bit arrogant, you might want to. I usually have to dial it down a little bit. You have to know yourself, right? And so you might think, oh, I better kind of. But me, my personal opinion is, if you know what you're talking about, it's confidence. If you're talking out of your rear end, so sometimes if you take a bridge too far and someone nails you, if you're going to be confident, you better know what you're talking about. Otherwise, you're arrogant. Arrogance without the now. Well, I didn't say that right. Arrogance is when you don't have the goods to back it up. That's the way I look
don't
at
have the
it.
knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next one. Yeah, you've earned the right to be in that room. You're the right person for the job, and I think that should give you a certain amount of confidence. If you've been invited for interview, believe me, there might be, as you see on LinkedIn and things, there's sometimes 150 applications. You will be one of maybe 5, 10 people being screened. You've got a right to be there. So sit forward. You love this, you know. We talked a lot about critical loyal. I'm not going to get into that too much. We've talked about it. Just be constructive, looking at your past stuff and look at what, you know, what strengths did it give you? How did it help you and things like that? Are you interested? Right. I wonder if, and I do this on some videos, if you go on our website, treasuryrecruitment.com, we've got an interview section. And one of the things is, are you going to be asked questions? Now, one stage I was having to run our junior treasury desk a couple of years ago. My colleague, she was going on honeymoon, and I was like sitting there, and she came back from holiday, and I went, "Have your desk back." She's like, "What's wrong?" And I went, "They're driving me mad." And she went, "Why?" I said, "I've got these junior candidates, and they keep asking me these questions." And he's like, "Well, yeah, they ask me questions." I said, "No, they ask me questions like, oh, will they ask me questions at the interview?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's what an interview." So I actually recorded some videos about this. They're going to ask you questions. Sit in their seat. Literally do it at home. You know, sit. The preparation time. You know, we talked about the 0 to 1 hour. Well, this is the interview. This is your 1 to 2 hour bit. Sit down, just as we were doing, and I was listening to you, Ernie, and it hurts my ears, but you know, but I was writing down some questions. I was like writing down here. I was prepping before this thing. What questions might we be asked by some of the candidates, you know, in the sidebar here? So do put questions in with Ernie in the chat box and stuff. You know, so I've actually wrote ask questions. So, and what questions are they going to ask you, and what questions are you going to ask them? And you know, you came up with that great thing, Ernie, that you were looking at, you know, the YouTube videos about finance careers and demonstrate that you've done your research. You know, don't overdo it. But the fact is, oh, I looked on your website and I saw you've got a finance development program. Does that mean in 2 years I'll be expected to rotate out of this role, or do you want to keep me for 3, or what's the tip? What, you've looked at our website? Wow, and you've watched that. I haven't even watched that. Some of the managers will say. So yeah, do that. It demonstrates interest. Do you think
let me sneak a question in here. So, yeah, because I want to keep them a little bit fresh. So, Mike, this is a long answer, but then maybe we can crisp it. What's out there? What's the skill set, right? You get asked this all the time. Is it CPA? Is it MBA? Is it FP&A? What are people really seem to be focused on the, I'd say on the technical side? The other things are soft skills, but any thoughts there?
It goes back to one of the things you said earlier. You showed the group treasurer there of that company where you were demonstrating early Uline and things like that. Who are they? Are they a CPA? Are they AFP, CTP? They're qualified. In the UK, we've got the ACT qualifications. Have they done that? And things like that. It's about where they're coming from. You know, what you know, have they got an MBA? You know, I was being asked recently by a US candidate. They said, look, should I do CTP? Should I do CPA? Should I do MBA? What should I do? And things. And I said to him, I said, number one, what job do you want to get? Or in fact, where do you want to go to? I said, that's a personal choice. But I said, further to that, it's about the person that's interviewing you. You know, and again, this, you know, after the interview, but, you know, think about your audience. You know, that's for the interview. But more generally, what am I being asked for? It depends on the job. A lot of the role, you know, is it more analytical? You know, is it more accounting focused? You know, it's, you know, then you'll get more of the accounting type, you know, they want a CPA. You know, if it's more treasury focused, CTP. Yeah.
Okay, great. Let me hop in here. I'll take
Go
one
for
of
it.
these here. So someone is asking, how do you control the rhythm of the interview so you're not talking over people? And that's one of my biggest weaknesses is I talk too much. So listening is a weapon. Listening is absolutely a weapon, people will say. So I would say, don't be afraid of silence. So when someone asks you a question, just don't blurt out the first thing that comes to your mind. And so I would say, I need to do this. There's classes on how to listen. So I think listening is absolutely important. Now, don't be afraid. So this is an old CEO of mine. He'd sit there for 30 seconds until you kept talking to him. So, so don't be afraid of the silence. And so I'd say err on, leaving a little bit of air. Mike, do you have anything even better than that or agree?
I think alongside that, I said to Joe, who works with me, I said, my biggest weakness is when I'm dealing with clients who I'm friendly with, which I hope to be friendly with all of my clients. But if I'm meeting a client for the first time, I'm perhaps slightly more formal. I'm gathering information. I'm scribbling down other, I'm really like this and da da da. If I'm with a mate, and we did a briefing with a client the other day, I was taking the mickey. I was like, oh, we're having a bit of a laugh and things. I got to the end of that interview and I said, I controlled it. And again, so you're going to meet someone, interview, you're getting on really well with them and things like that. Control it. Think about your behavior. Don't let your guard down. They are not your friend. They are your interviewer. They are expecting to see you tick certain boxes. Yes, you can be friendly. Yes, but don't let it, you've got to be careful. And this comes about after the interview, but also during the interview as well. You've got to just think about that. Because again, just think about where they're sitting.
Right.
So after the interview, should we dive into that one?
Sure.
Yeah, I think, the key thing is you've got here, call the consultancy, drop a friendly email, say, really enjoyed today. Would love to, maybe you can, if it's appropriate, you can connect to them on LinkedIn. Sometimes be careful about doing that because it just seems a bit desperate. Oh yeah, I want to be a friend. Oh, thank you for the interview. Can we be friends now on LinkedIn? I would be careful. If they've given you their business card and email address, what I would do is before you leave the interview, say, would it be okay for me to drop you an email with any further questions I have and things like that? And again, go and show it, you might not get it. The one thing you don't want to be do is come over smacks of desperation. So to go, says, consider phoning the person. Yeah, if it's an agency like ourselves, a consultancy, yes, try and get some constructive feedback. We've got it with a client. We've got a client at the moment. They're actually particularly slow in coming back. We want to give that feedback to people. But frustratingly, I think sometimes clients are nervous about doing it. That's one of the issues.
Right.
Yeah. Next one. Oh God, look at him. Yeah. There you go. Well, there you go. That's
Yeah.
Don't be overconfident. No, just go back to that one. Don't be overconfident. And you're seeing that. I say, don't be an ass, because there's nothing worse than one of those. Showing loyalty. Some of those videos, yeah, they're done as a bit of a Mickey tape, but it came from when I was saying my colleague, she went off on honeymoon. I was getting all these basic questions. Should I dress up? Should I do? Yes, you should. Yes, you should. They repeat a lot of this stuff. But go on there, go on the website, and you'll see that. Next.
Yeah, I got number one down, man. Dress to kill. All right.
Yeah. Offer stage. Right. Actually, go back a stage just before people read this and go there. I don't want them to read all of this because they won't be concentrating on me, Danny. Go back to the blue slides, quick. Right. Things to consider before an offer. Right. So you've got through 2 or 3 rounds of interview. You've got this. Brilliant. I've said to people, and people have asked me, do you get people rejecting your offers? Generally not. 99% of the time. And again, we will send these slides out to you. We don't get that. Why? Now you can go on, Ernie. And because I know what candidates are looking for. Why? Because I asked them. It's really difficult. I ask a candidate, say, look, you're covering on this, you're seeking this, and I said, what are your levels? What's your minimum level? Where it says there minimum. What are you happy with? What's your next step up? And I sometimes get someone, they might be on $100,000. They're really for, I want $150,000. Yeah, well, good luck. So you want a 50% pay rise? Yeah. Okay. Which market are you living in? That's not happening in today's market. And people say, but I'm worth that. And I know in America, you can't ask people's past salary, but we as a consultancy can. But also, we don't base it on that. What we're basing on is how much your skills are worth in the market. Also, competitively, is there someone sitting next to you that's only going to ask for $120,000 versus you coming in, I want 150,000. So it's about management of that. But generally, when we go through that offer process, I know, managed it. I said, look, it's not just about this. I think it's on the next slide as well, Ernie. Let's keep going.
Oops,
And it's
poll
just
question.
poll question. Sorry, yeah.
We don't want to miss that. Well, while I have the poll question up, let's go ahead and take an audience question.
Yeah, go for it.
Just a few quick tidbits on how tips for interviewing with the HR person versus the Treasury hiring manager. What do they do to make a good impression on the HR side?
Well, how do they make a good impression on the HR side? What do you mean?
Oh, so they're trying to say what's my difference in tactics. So for me, I would say you need to focus on the company and the culture. So you need to change your mindset a little bit, how you can be a team player. So kind of, what is it that they want to do differently, maybe a little bit, and focus a little bit more if it's the HR person. I think that's the gist of it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think cultural fit is a key thing. I'll go back to what Forrest said. Actually, I'm going to steal his words, some of the things. Basically, he said, make it hard for them to say no. So the research phase that you talked about earlier, what kind of an environment is it? What are things doing? What are the key things that people are looking for? The HR person, it might be more with the Treasury person. They're seeking, can you do this treasury management system? What's your technical expertise? Can you manage the team? HR person is this person going to be a good fit for around the building? Like you said earlier, Ernie, are they going to, remember the core pillars and stuff? Is that the kind of person they are? So it's culture fit versus functional fit. Back to you.
All right. Great. Yeah, let me go ahead and I have the polling question up now. I'll give you another 10 seconds or so, and then we'll go ahead and pivot a little bit. Mike and I really want to take the question, so Mike and I might go over a little bit. So I hope you find it valuable to stay with us. If we don't get to all of your questions, please reach out to us.
Ernie, don't give them. Can you not give the guys the results yet? I just want to talk through something just for a moment.
Yeah.
Just on this polling question, these answers, if you like, you can go back to the polling and let them start to poll and stuff like that. There you go. Go back.
Okay.
Take it off that slide. No, don't understand. Right. These are some of the reasons that people have told us they're most unhappy at work. We've taken them from our salary survey, over 1,000 people, and everyone's a salary survey. They're saying it's about the money. It's all about the money. That's what they're doing. So can you go back to the polling question, see if you finished the poll? Where are we up to with those people?
Yeah, we're good. I can share the results there. I mean,
go for it.
No, I want to do it. My mouse is going all over the place.
All right. Yeah. His mouse is going crazy. That's it.
It's crazy.
There you go.
There you go.
Look at that. Yeah, exactly. It's a balance there. We're slightly there. I work too many hours. I'm not valued / poor salary. What's the amazing there? We did the salary survey. Everyone said, "Oh, it's all about the money. Don't enjoy the." People don't go to work for just the money. Yes, you want to collect it at the end. You've got things to pay for at the end of the month and everything else. Look at it. It's a bad boss. It's the work environment. You've got nearly, what's that, 60, over 60%. 6 out of 10 of you, it's the environment and it's the person you're working for. It's not about the cash. And it's a bit weird on the salary. And we'll go on to the next one. We've got the next poll.
Oh,
what we got?
Yeah, I can do that. Yep. Next poll, you want that one? I'll launch it.
Yeah, that's the happy.
All right, there you go. All right, let's go. What makes you happy? Here's. Let me comment on the last one.
Yeah, go for it.
And you could have a terrible boss, but sometimes you got to look in the mirror, right? So it's easy to blame your boss.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying you don't have a bad boss, but see if people feel the same way, right? Does everyone think he's a bad boss? Is it just you? Do they have turnover? And so, that's the easy way to point the finger. So again, I would just think about that just a little bit.
Yeah, and I think you can maybe you got the results, or how many people have gone on this? Come on, get your clicking fingers.
Yeah, I got about 5 more seconds, then I can share what makes you happy. All right.
My guys.
Well, it doesn't matter. They'll just yell at me because they couldn't get their CTP, so I'll just have to deal with it. All right, there we go.
Look at that. Yeah, that's it. That's what I'm talking about. Look, it's not about the money. 7% of people the money pay. You know, when we do a salary survey, you think the money is what makes me happy. Great. No, it's about achieving. It's about making contribution. I mean, you've had this, Ernie, and you know what are your thoughts? It's just, you know, I'm tired of my own voice. Over to you for a minute.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, to me, making a difference, doing something worthwhile is actually something that I'm focusing on myself. I'll be honest, I was too focused on money. One of the things that I'll mention, I talked to Mike a little bit about the other day, was that once you get into a company and you're not paid what you should be paid, it's really hard to get yourself to market value. So you have to be cognizant of that, right? So, you know, I would just kind of throw that in there. We got a few more minutes here. Mike, why don't you give us, I do want to talk about the offer a little bit. So why don't you give us
Just a couple of bits.
Yeah, some
It's
good
not,
stuff.
well, we talked there, it's not just about the money.
Right.
And that's one of the key things. Yeah, there's compensation, there's bonus, profit. But what other things are important to you? You know, the work hours. We've talked so much, you know, in this unprecedented time, blah, blah, blah. But it's a pandemic, you know, working from home, everyone's been forced to this. Well, things are going to change. You know, we're going to go back. But are people going to go back 100% of the time straight back to the office? Probably not. We've demonstrated that flexible working can work. So actually, you know, what's going to be the flexible working policy of the place you're going to join? I think that actually, you know, I've talked about it in some of the articles I've written as well. There is, you know, Treasury is a very collaborative environment, you know, working together with others and things. You know, some of the more accountants, you know, when they're just doing more of the accounting stuff, that's less collaborative, you know, because of the work it is. But the work of Treasury, you work with others. You know, when I interviewed Luke this week on the podcast, brilliant guy. He was talking about that, you know, the thing they've lost is the cooler, you know, by the water cooler, you know, coming together.
Right.
Oh, I've got this problem with this system. What do you think? Blah, blah, blah. And actually, that's a key thing about it. It's, you know, so it's, you know, when you're considering a new offer, it's about the culture and things. Ernie, your thoughts?
I'm gonna go ahead and throw up this polling question here.
Sure.
People need to drop off. I want to make sure that people know that they can easily connect with you after the webinar. For me, if you're on here and you don't want to talk to Mike, you might want to think about it, because he's an invaluable resource, and I can tell you that Mike cares about your career. So let me go ahead and leave this up. So let me go ahead and take a question here, if that's okay.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, just again, you can email Ernie, but you can email me, mike@treasuryrecruitment.com. That's my email. So nice and simple. Visit the website, treasuryrecruitment.com. You know, we can catch up. I can give you advice. We can send you, and also go to the YouTube channel. We've got loads of other, you know, advice about virtual interviews. We've got one coming up, or career advice. That's what we do. Try and help.
All right. So let's go ahead, Mike, and let's be mindful of our time. And again, Mike and I will be doing this again. Final thoughts for you, Mike. You know, in these areas, let me see if you can get, like, this is hard, like one thing or two things with each area. Let's start with number one. During the interview, what are the two things most important, or one thing during the interview?
The one thing during the interview, I would think, is that you deserve to be there.
Okay.
You know, don't underestimate. They want you in that room, or they want you on that camera. You know, some people are, oh, you know, I've got to really, yeah, you want to impress them, but just think about, you deserve your place there. Have some confidence in that.
Right. Okay. What about right after the interview, or how do you keep that momentum going?
I think you just, you know, before you close the interview, you ask, you know, what's the timescale of feedback? What's the appropriate thing to do? There's nothing worse than a candidate like, oh, you know, boom, 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 dropping emails every day. No. Ask what the best way to get feedback is. Is it going to be through your agency, or if you're dealing directly with an employer? Just say, look, I don't want to be painful to you guys. What's going to be best? Shall I drop me an email, or here's my business? Have a business card yourself. Even if you're between jobs, it's not that hard to have an email address and give it to them and say, I'd appreciate any feedback.
Okay. Finally, on the offer side, where are the things you think people most often make the mistake? One, where's a mistake, and what do people really need to be considering that you don't think they often think through?
So the next job is a magic wand. The next job is a magic wand to get a big payoff. Yeah, you know, these guys aren't looking after me. I'm going to make a move and things like that. No, it's not that, you know, the new employer, it's not their job to give you the pay rise. You've got to earn that pay rise. You've got to earn that next role. And if you prove to that new employer that, yeah, you're going to get that new pay rise and you're worth it, great, and you deserve it. But, be realistic about it. Just keep your feet on the ground. You're there for a reason, and just do your best.
I think along those lines, and I think Mike and I have talked about this, maybe in our email, and I'll post about, there's no such thing as a dream job, people. Sorry to burst your bubble. I've had about 3 or 4. I work for myself. I dress like I want. I have things, but it's not perfect, right? And so everything has up and down. So like Mike said, the grass is always greener, even for this world of whatever I've created, Pee Wee Herman, whatever I've created, the grass is, it's always there. I want to close out. I want to thank Mike for your insights. It's always fun, and I hope we can do much more of these type of events, and that you found it valuable as well. Finally, I want to thank everyone out in the audience. First of all, let me thank all of you who have friends and family that are out on the front line of fighting COVID. We certainly appreciate that every single day. I hope everyone stays happy and healthy, and make the rest of your day great.